There has been something that a lot of people have wanted in World of Warcraft for a very long time, and recently they've kind of data mined this, and it's actually sub races in World of Warcraft. Now that pretty much means being able to, choose the race like Tauren, for example, but then you can also choose between like a normal Tauren like we have now in the game, or like a high mountain Tauren where they have antlers, and they're just slightly different versions of the races that we currently have. For example, you could play as high elves instead of blood elves, even though they're very similar, so that's kind of a little bit of a worse example, but you kind of get the point of it. For example, you could also play like different sub races of dwarves, which would be pretty cool because there's different like clans of them. But recently, they actually kind of confirmed in a way, not really, I wouldn't say confirmed because obviously we don't know for sure until, they officially release it. But recently it was found that there could possibly be 4 different sub races at least, which is, like there's only 4 that we found so far, but there could be at least 4 in the new expansion for World of Warcraft. Now, those 4 sub races are the Nightborn, the Void Elf, the Lightforged Draenei, and the High Mountain Tauren. Now, some of those, we've seen before. Obviously, we've seen the High Mountain Tauren and the Nightborn because, the Nightborn are in Suramar, and we do a lot with them in that, questing zone. And we also have seen the High Mountain Tauren, obviously throughout the Broken Isles, but mainly in the High Mountain. Now, the other 2 are a little interesting. We have the Void Elf, which we've only really seen with Illyria, but obviously there could be, other ones. And it's kind of interesting. Like, this was honestly the weirdest one out of the 4 for me because, it's not really like a prominent sub-race. It's not even like a sub-race in general. It's more of like a Blood Elf or something infused with the Void. So it'd be kind of interesting on how they play that out lore-wise, on how, a lot of different players would be able to play as that and how there'd be so many of them. But we also have the Lightforged Draenei, which makes a little more sense because the Draenei are all about the light. So, them having a specific sub-race where you're kind of infused with light, almost as if the Void Elves are infused with the Void. They're kind of like 2 opposing races. And it's cool because you can also see images of what these races look like, except for the Void Elves, because it's more of like a, honestly, just a white like form of them. It's kind of like without them being, like designed color-wise or anything. So there's not really like a texture on them. It's just more of the silhouettes of them. And they pretty much, as expected, look like Blood Elves, but I'd assume they'd probably be like Illyria Windrunner, so I'd probably look at her and then, like she kind of has like void eyes and things like that, kind of similar to how the Draenei are pretty much the same, except they seem to have a little bit of a gray skin color compared to, like the blue shades, and they also have, like the light in their eyes. And then obviously the High Mountain Tauren look like, the ones in the game already, and so do the Nightborn. Though I would also assume that there's probably going to be more sub-races added, just because so far it seems a little unbalanced, because I would assume that the Tauren are going to go to the Horde, obviously, and so would the Elves. I mean, they could be High Elves and go to the Alliance, but I don't know, I feel like they're more likely to be Blood Elves with the Horde, but, I'm not really sure how that would play out. And then obviously the Draenei are going to be on the Alliance, but then the Nightborn are also supposed to be on the Horde because they're just a little closer to them in relation. So obviously, that's like a 3-to-1 Horde to Alliance. So I'm not too sure what they would possibly add. Like, I'm assuming that they're going to add more sub-races that they just haven't, really put in the files yet. So we, aren't able to know of them. So maybe this is just like a little sneak peek. But I'm really excited for this because this is obviously something that I've wanted for a long time, especially kind of more character customization in general, not necessarily just sub-races, but, being able to customize a lot of other things, which they've also kind of introduced with the Demon Hunter, where you can have, like, different tattoos and things, so just kind of, like, expanding on that in a way. But obviously, if they were to just add sub-races, that'd be even cooler because it add a lot more, uniqueness to your character, because then obviously the player base would be even more split upon the different sub-races. There would be also, like, I would probably hope that you could somehow change your sub-race. They probably won't make that, but let's say you know, like right now I choose to play a Blood Elf and my main is a Blood Elf, but what if they come out, you know, with the Void Elf and I want to be one of those? You know, would I have to make a whole new character and just start over? Or really, like, how would that work out so that, you know, people, like, wouldn't just be stuck to how they are now? I mean, obviously that could happen. That's probably what's going to happen, is that, you know, you're not going to be able to change. You just have to create a new character, which obviously makes sense and would be fair, but it'd be kind of cool, and I'd probably want it to be able to choose, you know, which sub-race you want to be. Well, that's going to be it for this video. Tell me what you think of sub-races, because I'm assuming that a lot of the player base really wants them in the game. And so, you know, let's see. Hopefully these are even added in the game, and it's not just kind of like a weird hoax or something. Not really like a hoax, but hopefully it just doesn't turn out to be not a thing. But I'll see you guys in the next one.